episode of The Breakdown. My name is Eugene Osei-Tutu and I'm doing this with my producer,
Leo Stanley Whiting.
Yes. So today we are talking about the very topical Cybersecurity Amendment Bill. So today we are acting as maybe pseudo lawyers. We are trying to just read some of portions that has, been a little bit of generated a little bit of talkability on social media. There's about 26 amendments and 22 inserted sections within the bill. It generated a lot of conversation, and the minister on our screen, Sam George, has been trending. Some people are attacking him. Some people also saying that, they don't really see anything materially, bad about the bill. So basically, we are trying to just peruse the entire document. It's about 36-page document to see where people are having issues with, where people have posted certain sessions on social media and say that, we need to have a look at this before it is back. Now, before we go to the various sections, Leo and myself sat through the weekend to isolate for you, I would like Leo to take us through what's really the Cybersecurity Amendment Bill is. But before that, let's not forget that there's the amendment, meaning that the Cybersecurity Bill exists. Yeah. It was passed somewhere in 2020 and they're trying to amend it. Amendment basically means that to add something, to remove something, to tweak it and all that. So Leo, just read for us the preamble of the amendment bill.
Yeah, so it's an act to amend the Cybersecurity Act 2020, Act 1038, to confer powers on the Cybersecurity Authority to investigate, prosecute cybercrime on the authority of the Attorney General and recover proceeds of cybercrime. Also to revise the object and functions of the Cybersecurity Authority. Also to revise the governance and administration of the Cybersecurity Authority, and to revise the enforcement of powers, the Cybersecurity Authority, and to provide for related matters.
So broadly, when you go through the preamble to this amendment bill, they are seeking to do three primary things, right, Leo? Mm-hmm. That is to revise the governance architecture of the Cybersecurity Authority, also the administration of the Cybersecurity Authority, and to revise the enforcement powers. So they basically want to revise the governance, or let's say the function, how the authority will administer those functions, and also how the authority will enforce those functions. Now, talking about the functions, these are the objectives of the authority, which is largely also its functions.
So the objectives of the authority are: 1, to regulate cybersecurity activities in the country, to prevent, manage, and respond to cybersecurity threats and cybersecurity incidents, also to regulate owners of critical information infrastructure in respect of cybersecurity activities, cybersecurity service providers, cybersecurity professionals and practitioners, and cybersecurity establishments in the country. It's also to promote the development of cybersecurity in the country to ensure a secured and resilient digital ecosystem, and also to prevent and detect cybercrime, to facilitate the confiscation of proceeds of cybercrime, to establish a platform for the cross-sector engagement on matters of cybersecurity for effective and coordination and then cooperation between key public institutions and the private sector. It's also to create awareness of cybersecurity matters and collaborate with states, intergovernmental bodies, international organizations, and international agencies to promote the cybersecurity of the country.
So when you read this, on the casual look, it doesn't sound bad, right? It sounds more as, somebody coming to help us, to manage our ecosystem, because the digital space is thriving. Digital media is going wild and all that. Love FM is streaming on YouTube today. 10 years ago, it was not possible. We are streaming on Facebook today. 10 years ago, it was not possible. There needs to be some regulation of a sort. Now, when you and I decided to sit and go through the provisions, something's jumped to us, and we're trying to analyze it and see. Now, let's not forget, when you read the preamble, he said that the cybersecurity want to confer powers to investigate and prosecute cybercrime on the authority of the Attorney General. Now, when you read the section 4A, let me read for you. It says that the authority shall, in addition to the functions in section 4, carry out the following functions. A, subject to Article 88 of the Constitution, to investigate on the authority of the Attorney General, prosecute cybercrime under this act. People feel that this is a bit vague. How would they do that? Because we know that per the Constitution of our country, the only entity that is supposed to prosecute is the Attorney General under Article 88. Even the OSP draws set powers from the Attorney General. That is why Kenneth Rata cannot be extradited without the docket going to the Attorney General for him to initiate that process. Some believe that a cybersecurity authority should not have this burden They should just investigate and maybe liaise with Yoko, for example, which is organized crime, because they believe cybersecurity also has some connotation or some link with Yoko for them to do the prosecution. Now, so I'm taking you through it. Now, when you also go to this section, the 49, it talks about private facts of private individuals, government officials, public officers, politicians, and celebrities. Let me read for you. It said that the 49 a person may be liable for the publication of private facts about an individual or group of individuals where that information is deeply personal and does not or is not liable to adversely affect national security, public interest, public trust, public safety, or public order or public scrutiny. A person may be liable for the publication of private facts about a government official or public officer or politician where that information is deeply personal and does not or is not likely to adversely affect national security, public interest, public trust, public safety, or public opinion or public security. Now, Leo, when you decided to gauge the mood of people about this, what did they say?
So
the 49
The 49 it says a person may be liable for the publication of private facts about an individual or a group of individuals where the information is deeply personal.
But the question here is who determines the deeply personal?
Who is personal,
That is the preamble of what you are doing, the vagueness and subjectivity. Because if you say you can prosecute, when you go further, you understand where there's a little bit of worry when it comes to the amendment bill. Why people are talking, especially people on X, formerly Twitter, where people are mostly worried that who determines what is deeply personal? Maybe Leo shirt, the brand, may be personal to him. It may not be personal to another person. So who determines what is personal? That is an issue. Now, Leo, there's also this section. When you go to the section 67A, where it talks about tracking and also creating online, presence. So I want you to read for me from the 3.
So section 67A(3) says, a person shall not create a false identity online or a fake social media profile for the purposes of the following. 1, to follow a child whether or not the contact is acceptable, or an adult where the contact is unacceptable, or a person shall not use any online computer service or any other electronic device to A, track the location of a child, B, monitor the real world activities of a child, and C, track the location of another person without the consent of the person.
When we're doing the production, David asked the question. You remember the question? I said, my wife is coming to Kumasi from Accra. You know that the journey is roughly, let's say, 10 hours. She's not in. I use iPhone. iPhone, you have what you call Find iPhone. Can't I track my wife?
So here too, one explanation is if I create a fake account to follow my daughter in school to see the things she's doing, and the Cybersecurity Authority find out, they're going to arrest me.
Yes.
Interesting.
So there's a lot of vagueness. That's why we chose our words carefully. We are not saying that there's some criminal. We are saying it is vague. It is subjective. And the reason why we are hammering on the subjectivity will come very soon. We don't want to rush it. So let's take it systematically. My wife is traveling. She uses iPhone. She's not there. She says she was going to work. It's been 3 hours. The bosses have called me. Oh, your wife is not at work. What's she happened? Is she unwell? You cannot track her. Who determines consent? All that are areas that we believe has some vagueness and subjectivity. Now, Leo, let's take the next one, where it talks about the freezing of assets, where people feel that it's too arbitrary. Now, when you go to the 59B, the 5, kindly read for me.
It says, in relation to subsection 6, if criminal prosecution fails, civil asset recovery should still proceed, and confiscation orders should have the effect of a civil judgment applicable from the High Court and to the Court of Appeal. 6 says, where the authority considers that freezing of property is necessary to facilitate an investigation of prosecution, the authority shall, in writing, direct the freezing of A, the property of a person or entity being investigated, or specified property held by a person or entity other than the person or entity being investigated or prosecuted. And also the authority shall within 14 days after the freezing of the property apply to the court for a confirmation of the freezing.
This is where people have issues. That you suspect me of a crime. You've not gone to court. You are basing on suspicion. You freeze my asset, you confiscate my asset, and after 2 weeks, that is when you have to go to court to validate the action that you've taken. People feel that this is also a bit worrying. This is worrying. Now, because of time, let's do the section 20B, the powers of the police.
Okay, so powers of police, section 20B. One says, the Director General, the Deputy Director General, and other authorized officers shall exercise the powers of a police officer, including the powers of arrest, search, and seizure, and have the same rights, protections, immunities conferred on a police officer in the criminal and other offences Procedure Act. That's Act 960 at 30.
Yes.
So the Police Service Act 1970 and any other law related to a police officer in the performance of their functions under the Act.
David, Wins becomes a president. Eugene has no training in military because of David being appointed as a director of the cybersecurity. By assumption of that office, I can act as a police officer. Will he be trained? Can he have arms? Can he shoot me? All these are questions that people ask. So why should a director general of an entity, a civilian, suddenly metamorphose to become a police officer?
It clearly says powers of
police. Powers of a police, and even have immunities. And we know how security agencies abuse their powers in this country. You saw what happened in the pharmacy last week. So all these things are people. Now, what is more troubling for people is this. The 9, the 31, section 31, it talks about where the authority will get its sources of funds. I want you to read for me the first 3.
Okay, so the sources of monies for the fund, where they are going to get the money for operations. Is 1, seed money approved by Parliament. 2, monies which may become lawfully payable to the authority for the fund. And 3, 50% of all fines arising from from criminal penalties under the Act.
So you confiscate my phone. If you're able to prosecute, you get 50%. You have the powers of police. You can do whatever you want just because you want to make money for the authority. This is where people are having issues with. That 50% of every single fine, they say, I do be in your credit in the so. Then you get 50% of it just because that is what people are saying. That's not what we, Leo and myself, are saying. This is what people are saying. That why should the sources of funds necessarily 50%? So if they have, let's say, a budget of 100 million, they should estimate that 50% of that should come from fines. So if they know that, all they can do is they can just go on the streets, charge people arbitrarily, and we have a history of these things. So we are only saying that as an amendment bill, it will go to Parliament. We expect the members of Parliament to do due diligence. There's a lot of stakeholder engagement. We believe that they need to look at some of these things so that we protect whilst we seek to protect our digital space, we also do not give powers arbitrarily to politically exposed persons who have the probability to override the authority.
One thing that I also noticed is there are no checks and balances. Example, appeal mechanisms for people who are penalized. I didn't see anything like that. So as you are saying, this is a bill that has been presented. A lot of scrutiny needs to be done, and then a lot of the wording needs to be changed so that we can have a finite, idea as to what we want to, present.
So this has been the breakdown. My name is Eugene Osei-Tutu. I did this with my producer Leo. David produced this today. Thank you. On Wednesday we come back on your radio, more exciting conversation.